Mulan is the latest Disney live-action cash grab of Disney's animated movies from the 1990s. Did I say cash grab? I forgot to add soulless somewhere in there. Let's see here. The latest soulless live-action cash grab. There we go. Mulan, the 1998 cartoon, is one of the Disney movies I never got around to viewing. The Lion King, a movie I watched and loved more than Aladdin, was the last animated movie from the Mouse House that I glued my eyeballs to in 1994, mainly due to Elton John's music. Love it to this day. Pocahontas released in 1995, and all I recall from it is the Vanessa Williams song, what was that, Colors of the Wind? Oh, and the terrible whitewashing of history. I also remember that part. Hercules came out in 1997, and by then I had already lost interest in Disney movies, so I didn't go see it. I think I saw a commercial ad for Mulan when it was headed to DVD. Anyway, what I'm saying is I had no emotional connection to the original cartoon prior to watching this remake, reboot, replay? I don't know what these things are called. Remote play? Unlike the live-action Aladdin and Lion King, which I knew would be disasters from the very beginning and thus avoided them like the world avoiding the US, I looked forward to watching Mulan 2020. It was directed by Nikki Caro and stars a pantheon of amazing Asian and Asian American actors. Donnie Yen, Jet Li, Sima, Pei Chang, Jason Scott Lee, Rosalind Chow, Hoon Lee, so much great talent. Yifei Liu, whose work I'm not at all familiar with, stars as Mulan, and I think she did a great job with what was available to her. The movie looked really good. The wardrobe was also really well done, though it looked a little bit too clean at times, but visually it was very cinematic. So what's the plot? Mulan is a young girl growing up in the dynastic era of China, and she doesn't want to be just a housewife. She wants to fight because she was born with all of this life energy, this chi, and all that life energy makes her want to fight, I guess. But tradition states that only boys are allowed to fight. A girl doing so would bring great dishonor to the family name. It appeared Mulan resigned herself to know her place until an army of bandits goes on a warpath to attack the imperial city, the capital of whatever empire this is. With the bandit leader being called Bori Khan, I thought the bandits were supposed to be Mongols, since the real Mongol empire of Genghis Khan and his sons dominated so much territory in Asia, stretching from the Sea of Japan to Eastern Europe at its height. But no one in the movie ever says the word Mongol, so I guess it wasn't them. The empire needs men to join the army to battle against these Khans, therefore each family must give up one son. But Mulan doesn't have any brothers, so her father volunteers, clearly in no shape to serve in the military. To prevent him from going, she takes his armor, which tailors itself to her body size via movie magic, his sword and his conscription letter, and joins the army, pretending to be one of the guys. Although it felt like it took forever to finish building up the plot, the premise was interesting to me. I mean, I've seen dozens of these progressive women clashing with regressive traditions movies, but I withheld judgment because I thought the story might add a new dimension to that typical setup. It didn't, so that was a bit disappointing. Another thing I found disappointing was the actual audio. This is a personal nitpick of mine, but I like movies where I can hear the native language of the movie's characters. For example, I watched the German show Dark on Netflix in its original Deutsch, or German I should say, and I read the subtitles to follow along. Same thing with El Hoyo. I listen to the original Spanish and read the subtitles, obviously, and repeat with Train to Busan, and on and on and on. So when I saw that the cast for Mulan was going to be mostly Chinese natives and the movie was supposedly taking place sometime in ancient China, I foolishly thought for a hot second that the cast would speak Mandarin or Cantonese. But with the opening narration though, the English slapped me in the face, so that expectation fell apart like a drunken master who can't handle his liquor. I mean, why would Chinese people speak English in ancient China? Although I knew I was meant to suspend my disbelief and just go with that, I really couldn't get over that audio-visual dissonance for the rest of the movie, and it took me out of the whole thing. And like every time anyone spoke, I didn't believe a word that they were saying. No lie, I would have preferred if the actors dubbed over their own voices. It would have at least made me think of the old Shaw Brothers martial arts movies. And now I'm gonna get into the stuff I really didn't like because Mulan didn't make me think of anything, Shaw Brothers or otherwise. It was really boring. So very boring. The screenplay had 4 writers credited to it. I don't know if that's due to rewrites and Writers Guild rules, or the studio wanted to include its own notes or what. But as far as I can remember, I have yet to enjoy a movie with more than 2 writers that wrote a tight, well-placed, exciting plot that offered awesome character development. And maybe it exists, I haven't seen it. With 4 writers, Mulan has none of that. It's just so boring. So boring, I checked how much runtime was left 3 or 4 times while watching the movie. And that isn't something you do when you're invested in the action and characters, both of which fell totally flat for me. What passes for fight scenes are sleep-inducing. I thought they'd take advantage of using wires to enhance a lot of the sword battles, you know, like the House of Flying Daggers or Hero or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but no, none of that. And all of the characters I think were just so lame and poorly defined. No one stuck out to me as having any life to them. It was soldier, 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 bad guy, bad woman, emperor, father, mother, sister, and Mulan. And speaking of which, the antagonists, you know, the bad guys here, weren't threatening at all, not one bit. Bori Khan wanted revenge on the emperor because the emperor killed Bori Khan's dad. So Bori Khan had like the traditional bad guy motivation, you know, you killed my father. The problem is that very early on in the movie, his army is, you know, attacking some random village. And then word spreads that he's headed for the Imperial City. But I had no idea how far away from the Imperial City his army was, so I didn't feel any sense of urgency for Mulan and the Imperial soldiers to prepare for him. And then the movie's training section went on for so long, there's no way Bori Khan was traveling through Asia on horseback. I mean, it wasn't until sometime near the start of the 3rd act that someone said Bori Khan was a day's ride away, which made me think that Bori Khan wasn't even on Earth when he attacked that village. He had to have been in a galaxy far, far away. And much like Rey, Mulan beats him very easily. The fight was barely an inconvenience. So boring. And the other bad woman, the one with powers, she was capable of frightening everyone into submission with her abilities to transform into like flying creatures. I think she transformed into like bats and an eagle a couple times, and then she could use that power to rule the country for herself. Yet she allowed Bori Khan to compare her to a dog? Like what? Shouldn't he have been the snake in her eagle's shadow? Whatever. She tries to kill Mulan when they first meet, but then does a complete 180 at the end and sacrifices herself to save Mulan's life for reasons unknown. Another thing that I didn't know was how, during the Imperial Army's first encounter with Bori Khan's forces, how Mulan was able to cross the field of battle on a horse and get behind enemy lines without being seen by anyone on either side, but especially by the bad guys. Last thing, which I think really encapsulates this remote play of a movie. So before the teleportation scene, she had just survived bumping into Bird Lady. Bird Lady told her to stop pretending and threw a blade or something into Mulan's chest. However, because Mulan was wearing extra layers to help conceal her identity, the blade didn't harm her, it just kind of knocked the wind out of her. So Mulan gets up, back on her horse, the music swells, and she starts a slow motion ride back towards the battlefield, her armor dropping off piece by piece, and her hair finally free to audition for a Pantene Pro V commercial. Now, I'll admit, the whole sequence looked very cool, the music was uplifting, and the message of being true to yourself came through without a word. It was nice. However, in the context of the movie, she was riding back towards a place where men were swinging swords around and shooting arrows at each other. A place where everyone else was wearing armor head to toe. Okay, so if you push that cool moment for the audience aside, it makes absolutely no sense in the movie why she would remove her armor, okay? Granted, some of it was damaged by the dagger, but some armor is better than no armor, unless you're an iron monkey. Not everyone can be an iron monkey. Mulan is like the shiny blade of a used meat cleaver. It has great cast, good cinematography, appealing costumes, decent music, and passable action sets. But the blade has a dull and brittle edge. There's no character development, no engaging plot, no memorable dialogue, and it is so very, very boring. Oh my goodness, it's such a boring movie. You can't be a magnificent butcher with such a good-looking but poor quality blade. Mulan was the first soulless live-action cash grab I've seen from Disney, and really, I'd rather inject myself with 5 deadly venoms than sit through another one. That's gonna do it for this review. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you like to like and subscribe to things, and I'll see you in the next video when I charge myself $30 to watch the original Mulan.